Abby Johnson, the Executive Director, and with me today I have Anna Maria Kowalik, Senior Vice President and Director of Business Development with Inland Green Capital, and Jason Stringer, Vice President of Business Development with Inland Green Capital. Inland Green Capital is an environmental finance and investment company. It provides capital for PACE project initiatives throughout the country. In addition to their enthusiasm for PACE from a business perspective, Inland is very excited to provide leadership in advancing the energy efficiency and sustainable movement sweeping the land. So welcome, Anna Maria and Jason.
Thank you very much, Abby. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's head off with the first question. My first question to you all is, what kind of projects are you working on right now? And I guess kind of part B, have you seen any changes from the impacts of the pandemic?
Well, actually, despite the pandemic and lockdowns, we've been very fortunate to be able to grow business and sustain our model. We will finance projects of any size. However, we've seemed to create a niche in the smaller to mid-size projects, seeing a lot of HVAC replacement and building envelope work, including roofing, new windows, insulation, and then with building controls and elevator modernization, along with a strong renewables interest, which there always is, particularly solar. From a qualifying properties perspective, we've been seeing a lot of hotels and self-storage, as well as industrial and manufacturing. And those are kind of leading the way in our pipeline, as well as new construction multifamily. And so what we've found during this entire pandemic period is the resiliency of CPACE itself, and how it's going a long way to invest and improve in properties and making it comfortable for the occupants.
That's very interesting. Also, the fact that you all focus on smaller deals, which I think is something we really need in the CPACE marketplace. So I'd just like to see from your perspective, if you think this is going to broaden or change your strategy for Virginia, and if you had any thoughts about the Hampton Roads area in particular.
Yeah, definitely that district and that type of improvement elicits a unique marketing strategy for sure. I think traditionally with PACE, you're dealing with clean energy projects. And as we've thought about engaging the market and trying to drive clean energy, we've usually started with a lead type project. Like, it's very accessible for property owners to really understand an HVAC retrofit because they're living with that. And that HVAC retrofit can then lead to other projects like a solar PV or a lighting project. And that's kind of the traditional thought pattern with traditional CPACE. But I think when you move to a district like Hampton Roads in Virginia, where it's a low-lying district on the coast, businesses, property owners in that district are feeling the real impact of climate change on their properties, on their premises. And so I think it creates an opportunity to perhaps lead engagement with those property owners with resiliency. And then perhaps clean energy will follow on or tack on to those projects. So as you introduce improvement types to help harden the properties against high water or flood waters or whatever, you can also then layer on the HVAC retrofits and the solar retrofits. And of course, if you really want to go full tilt, the microgrids to help really reinforce resiliency during those those desperate times. So you want to sort of target engineering firms or other firms that are specializing in those types of improvements, because they are a unique package of improvements that they're introducing to building owners. So you'll want to target those groups that are specializing in resiliency improvements, the professional firms.
That's a really good advice. And we know that there are definitely different, and this is something I hadn't thought of asking you, but in addition to like civil engineers, maybe structural, and I don't know, what kind of engineering firms or companies, flood mitigation, and what kind of You have any
So
ideas? 'Cause I mean,
civil engineering firms, I think civil engineering firms, but also I think the general contractors, the installation contractors. I mean, those flood mitigation package for a building is a very specialized service. So you want to look for the firms that have those credentials and have done those types of projects, because they could be good leads to bring you financing opportunities. And I'm you know and I've yeah that's I think
that's
so.
great.
It's engineering and kind of the GC, the contractor network. Um,
That's great. That's really, yeah, that's something we're trying to really focus on in Hampton Roads. So that's great advice. And I know, I'm sure from your work in Illinois as well, you can, that's a similar kind of, you have that ability there. So that's a great, we're both lucky in that sense from our two states. So I wanted to ask Anna Maria why in her career she chose to focus on PACE.
Well, it's kind of a funny thing how I fell into PACE, basically about 2.5 years ago. My prior experience spans over 20 years in the commercial real estate, property and asset management industries. And so as far as knowing projects and how they come to fruition and working with contractors and managing the process, I think it kind of built a really good framework for me to transition into this role, along with the fact that throughout my past career, I always had an interest in sustainability and all things green. And so I started a green committee at my prior place of employment. And we had begun projects such as exterior rain sensors on exterior landscape irrigation. And then moved to LED lighting in the parking lots of shopping centers. And so, we started some initiatives that then grew throughout our real estate portfolio. And I was very proud of that work. And when the opportunity came up for this position with Inland Green Capital, I was just thrilled to be able to use all of my past experience and knowledge and more than that, the relationships and the contacts with governmental authorities and industry organizations and chambers of commerce and local builders and contractors, people in the industry whom I would have missed had I gone a different path. And so I really enjoy what I do, and I hope it shows.
I think it does. And I think it's great, your background. I think that really is a strength because you understand how they think. So that's pretty important when selling, or not just selling, but financing projects. You have to understand their point of view. So Jason, I wanted to ask you a little bit of a different question. What is the quirkiest thing that someone has asked you to finance in PACE?
Yeah, that's a good one. So in a prior to Inland Green, I was with the PACE Wisconsin program administrator, and I think as program administrator, you get a lot of interest from the community, and you think it's going to be pretty straightforward commercial building, retrofit projects, new lighting, HVAC systems sprinkled in there with some rooftop solar installations, but every now and again you get something unique. And as I was thinking about this question, a couple things came to mind. We had one factory that wanted to use PACE to do an energy reduction project, but the measure or the improvement was building demolition, which was kind of unique. And it was actually technically allowed by our statute. Didn't happen, but that was one. But given that the real one, I think that was most fun to work on. Given that we were Wisconsin, we're the cheese and dairy capital of, well, at least the Midwest and sometimes the United States. There's a real large agribusiness in the state, a lot of dairy farms, as you can imagine. And on those farms, there, those concentrated operations with lots of cows, you can imagine there's lots of waste to deal with, which creates a lot of problems and opportunities. And so we kept seeing these digester projects come to us, and we didn't really know what to do with them until they started being packaged as renewable natural gas projects. And that is a thing now. We scratched our heads on that for two years. I mean, what is this? Is this a wastewater treatment plant? Or, no, this is a refinery for renewable natural gas. And they're incredible operations, because at the end of the day, they take the waste and they generate distilled water, renewable natural gas, and bedding and solids for the barns for the cows to sort of live on, if you will, among other desirable. I think they create fertilizer too. So it's incredible.
That's really cool. That is really, I think about parts of Virginia where we definitely we're not at your level in terms of your dairy production and your cheeses, but we do have a lot of farmland. And one thing we've seen a little bit of difficulty in is reaching some of these smaller counties, because there's just, none of us, there's not enough of us in the state to really, to access them unless we have a really strong value proposition. So I'll probably be calling up about that again.
Yeah, when you go statewide, when you go statewide with your program, you end up having to have solutions for cities as well as businesses in the rural areas, which forestry and agriculture pace,
So I appreciate both of your time today. And before we finish this interview, I just wanted to ask if either of you had a question for VPA.
Well, Abby, I believe that perhaps capital providers coming from other markets might want to know what is the differentiator in Virginia PACE? What should we as capital providers coming into the market know about you?
Well, that actually is a really good question. So I would say that in terms of the programs that we manage, we really are trying to be economically development focused. So we have made the program as easy to use as we can in terms of just how you apply. And we try to make the criteria for eligibility is reasonable, but also maintaining the energy efficiency and energy saving component. What really differentiates us perhaps even more, though, is the fact that we do have broad resiliency and stormwater eligibility, which most states don't. And something coming out of the hopper, knock on wood, but almost for sure, is that we're going to have the ability to do retroactive. So I know several states who can look back financing for a number of years, and that's been off the table in Virginia. We're going back to our General Assembly, and I think given the makeup and given our sponsor, we have a really good chance of having that on our program. And so now when you all look at a place like Virginia, think, well, okay, we can actually target property owners that have projects they already financed, but could still use PACE now. So I appreciate that question. And
excellent. Thank you.
Great. And talk to you soon. Have a great day.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye.